Senator Ludlam.
Thanks, Chair. I just got a couple by way of follow-up. Did you have much to do with the Commission of Audit? Because, of course, cuts to funding of SBS were foreshadowed there. Did you have much to do with that review?
No, not much, Senator. We had one meeting with the Commission of Audit, that was all. And
without asking you to go into specifics or details of what was discussed, can you go into specifics or details of what was discussed?
Sorry, what was the question? Yeah.
What was the nature of the discussion?
The nature of discussion was simply an opportunity for SBS to demonstrate to the Commission of Audit just how efficient we are and why we believe we're efficient, and to take them through the structure of our business and its key levers, really. And it was a great opportunity to demonstrate to the Commission the foundations of the business, as well as some benchmarking around why we believe we are the most efficient broadcaster in the country by a long shot.
We've been discussing this with you and your predecessor at Estimates now, in my instance, I guess, for 6 years or so. There was a period of time when SBS was flirting with insolvency. You were actually that close to hitting the wall and not being able to pay your bills. Is it possible to tease out for us when the Minister has said a couple of times today that the government has no intention of degrading your production capacity, it's about back office efficiencies. Can you draw out for us firstly, is there an easy delineation? How much of your budget is this so-called back office where you're meant to be finding this money from?
It's about 35% of our overall funding is non-content related.
35?
Roughly, it's about 65-35 is the split between content and non-content costs. So the non-content costs would obviously include all the support functions of technology, distribution, IT, marketing, finance, human resources, etc., etc.
Okay. And what kind of assessment have you made internally since you've got three things bearing down on you? Your item number 51 on the Institute of Public Affairs chopping block for total destruction, that you don't exist at all. The Commission of Audit just said there should be cuts, and now the government is saying there should be efficiencies as a down payment to presumably cuts, but we don't know.
We don't know yet.
How much analysis have you done within that 35% of what you could throw over the side and still keep the station afloat?
As I mentioned earlier, we for the last 3 years have been looking right through our business, and we've done a lot of analysis around our content and non-content costs, and we have been trying to reinvest money as much as we can into that content costs area. I don't believe that there is much left in terms of our efficiencies without damaging the business. We would need to stop some services as a next step.
Like what?
We would most likely need to reduce the number of Australian programs. We would probably increase our repeat ratio on television. We would most likely need to reduce some language programs, etc. We would need to. It would depend on what further cuts there were. So it's really hypothetical for me to suggest where they'd come from. But what I'm trying to say is, from a back office efficiency perspective, given that we have been on this case for the last 3 years, I'm very confident that there's not a lot left in our efficiencies.
Yeah, I would have been surprised if there were, given the financial situation that the broadcaster was in as recently as, I would say, 2 budgets ago.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if it was a Freudian slip on your part just before, but I was going to come to the question of advertising. The ABC is obviously very constrained in its revenues, apart from the ABC shot. That's basically it. They're wholly dependent on what they can talk out of the government of the day.
Yeah.
SBS is in something of a different position, and you'd be well aware of my views on that.
Yes.
Is the government negotiating with you or putting a view that you should increase the amount of advertising that the station carries?
That may or may not be part of the efficiency report that we're looking at. I think it's early for me to say that, but we're not certainly in any discussions right now about increasing that.
Maybe this is a political question. Senator Fifield, if I could just tear you away from your phone for a second. Does the government believe that one of the things SBS could do to reduce its impact on the budget would be to carry more advertising?
I've got no thoughts on that matter, Senator Ludden.
I wasn't asking for your thoughts. What's government policy at the moment?
No change in prospect,
No change.
but I'm happy to take that on notice from Minister Turnbull.
We might need to get it in writing. Before the election, there were no cuts, and now there are cuts. And now you're saying no change. So on what basis do we have confidence that you're not going to force the station to carry more advertising?
I'm just not aware of any changes in prospect, and as I said, I'll take the question on notice from Minister Turnbull.
Yeah, if you could. Or other forms of revenue raising that don't rely on, direct appropriations from the budget. I think that's something that SBS's audiences would be very interested to know. It's certainly been controversial in the past. Mr. Ebeid, what's your understanding of the way that the government's using this term down payment?
My understanding is, as Senator Fifield mentioned earlier, that as part of the review, there is an expectation that there'll be some efficiencies found, and the 1% is a first cut, and there is most likely going to be further cuts, is my understanding of it.
When are you expecting that you'll find out how much you actually have to cut from the broadcaster?
I don't believe there's a definite timetable at the moment that I'm aware of, so it's difficult for me to answer that. I'm not aware of any specific deadlines or timelines of what the next steps are, but we've just been given the draft reports. We're currently going through them, looking at the recommendations. We'll be going back to the Minister after we have a discussion with our board, and then having further discussions about the next steps with the Minister.
When's your next board meeting, or when does the SBS part of that conversation conclude and you have to handle it back?
So the next board meeting for SBS is on the 12th of June, and then we'll meet with the Minister after that.
Okay. All right, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you.